Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Zhou Zhou clicked on the Blessed Land Myriad formation that he had obtained after upgrading his territory. The information of the array appeared. Array name: Blessed Land Myriad Formation. Array level: Extraordinary Tier Elementary Grade. Array effect 1: Blessed Land. Not only can the Blessed Land gather the promotion energy between heaven and earth and greatly increase the density of the promotion energy in the territory, but it can also produce spiritual energy on its own, allowing the territory to satisfy the energy needs of the subjects and energy facilities in the territory even without relying on external spiritual energy. Living in the range of the Blessed Land Myriad Formation's array formation for a long time could improve the physical and soul aptitude of the territory's subjects and greatly increase the cultivation efficiency of the territory's subjects. The Blessed Land Myriad Formation can imperceptibly slowly increase and stabilize the providence of the territory's subjects. Array Effect 2: Myriad Convergence. The Blessed Land Myriad Formation can Array Effect 3: Divine Kingdom Foundation. When the territory advances to the low-tier deity level elementary grade, or when the lord of the territory becomes a god, the Blessed Land can be used as the foundation of the Divine Kingdom and evolve into a perfect Divine Kingdom. Formation Upgrade Requirement: Upgrade as the territory upgrades. Array Description: A territory array created by the Supreme Will. It has various powerful abilities to assist the growth of the Lord and territory. It can even be used as the foundation of the Divine Kingdom to create a perfect Divine Kingdom. Perfect Divine Kingdom. A perfect Divine Kingdom. Only when a territory advances to the low-tier deity level elementary grade, or a lord becomes a god through faith, can they obtain the blessing of the Supreme Will. When evolving a Divine Kingdom, they can obtain the help of the Supreme Power to evolve a perfect Divine Kingdom. A god spirit with a perfect Divine Kingdom would not only have an incomparably stable Divine Kingdom that would not be easily destroyed by the enemy, but no matter how high its potential was, when it advanced to a higher level, the god spirit would be blessed by the Supreme Will, increasing the chances of successfully advancing by 1%. Moreover, when the advancement failed, the Divine Kingdom would not be damaged by the failure of the advancement. Zhou Zhou's eyes widened. Oh my God! This Blessed Land Myriad Formation actually had so many benefits. Not only was he stronger in terms of gathering and creating promotion energy, increasing the cultivation efficiency of the subjects, and improving the aptitude of the territory's subjects, it could slowly increase and stabilize the providence of the territory's subjects. It could also assist in comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. Most importantly, he had also become the foundation of the Divine Kingdom. Furthermore, after becoming a god, he could even become a perfect Divine Kingdom. The various benefits of this perfect Divine Kingdom. As a legendary tier advanced grade superhuman, Zhou Zhou's next step was to face the stage of becoming a god. His heart itched as he watched. He looked at it for a while and gradually calmed down. The foundation of this Divine Kingdom will be extremely important to me, Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he looked at the information on the foundation of the Divine Kingdom in this Blessed Land Myriad Formation. As he read, he suddenly noticed something. Since the foundation of this Divine Kingdom evolved into a Divine Kingdom, there were two different conditions. One was that the territory would advance to the low-tier deity level elementary grade and naturally evolve into a Divine Kingdom. The other was that the Lord would become a god through faith. When the time came, the Blessed Land would also evolve into a Divine Kingdom with the Lord. As long as one of the two conditions was met, one could form a perfect Divine Kingdom. What if both achievements were achieved? Would it create a more perfect Divine Kingdom? Zhou Zhou did not think too much about it and directly tried to ask the Supreme Will. The Supreme Will still loved this favored child of his, so it quickly gave an answer. Supreme Will Notification 1. Since it is already a perfect Divine Kingdom, there is no more perfect Divine Kingdom. Supreme Will Notification 2. When the Lord of all races meet one of the conditions, the other condition doesn't need to be fulfilled. They can also become a perfect Divine Kingdom. Supreme Will Notification 3. However, a perfect Divine Kingdom is only the beginning of a Divine Kingdom. You still need to continue to increase the level of the Divine Kingdom's foundation to increase the level of the Divine Kingdom and make your Divine Kingdom stronger. Zhou Zhou was secretly shocked. Was it his imagination? Why did he feel that the Supreme Will was more concerned about him? Could it be because he had performed well recently? He thought about it and felt that this should be the reason. As a lord of all races who was favored by the Supreme Will, what he did could not be hidden from the Supreme Will. Moreover, seeing how well he had performed, the Supreme Will seemed to be even more concerned about him. It seemed to make sense. Even though that was what he thought, Zhou Zhou still appeared very respectful on the surface. Thank you for your guidance, Lord Supreme Will. The Supreme Will did not reply. Zhou Zhou smacked his lips as he pondered over a question. He wondered what level the will of the Supreme Will was at. His realm was will-like light, but when facing the Abyss Will, he still felt that the other party was unfathomable. He did not even know where the other party's upper limit was. The Supreme Will that controlled all the wills of the Abyss Will, the immortal world, the heaven world, and so on would definitely be even more terrifying, right? He thought about it for a moment, then shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He looked at the blessed land teleportation channel in the sky and muttered to himself, I'm getting closer and closer to raising my territory to the low-tier deity level elementary grade. Work harder and strive to raise the territory to the low-tier deity level elementary grade as soon as possible. This way, I can go to the gate of summoning every day and freeload on the 9 god spirits. At that time, that is when the title glory of the pioneer will truly come into play. I'll set a small goal first. I'll raise the level of the territory to legendary tier elementary grade and take down the glory of the Pioneer 8. Then, Zhou Zhou first entered his small blessed land to check what improvements he had obtained. Zhou Zhou was very satisfied with the result. First, the area had increased from more than 3 million square kilometers to more than 30 million square kilometers. This area was already comparable to the 2 bear countries on the Cerulean planet. Due to the increase in area, the various construction facilities inside had also been greatly improved and expanded. Whether it was the cultivation room, study room, bedroom, military drill hall, viewing hall, game hall, and other buildings, the area had increased by about 10 times. Moreover, the various facilities inside had also been upgraded. Second, in the small blessed land, in addition to the various buildings mentioned above, there were also various practical and interesting buildings such as the Myriad Ingot Palace, the Lord's Palace, the Administration Hall, the Rare Treasure Palace, the 100 Kingdoms Palace, the Hall of Wonders, and the Myriad Sacred Rune Palace. Finally, the small blessed land that had been upgraded was no longer the original building complex, but more like a complete small world. In the world outside the palace complex, green mountains and clear waters could be seen everywhere. Birds and beasts were thriving, and spiritual flowers and rare treasures were competing with each other. It perfectly possessed all the elements that a small world should have. As expected of the foundation of the Divine Kingdom, it took more than an hour for Zhou Zhou to finish shopping. Then, after integrating Gorlo's potential blessing pearl into the kingdom's golden tablet, he called Aaliyah over and asked her to call Mu Gu, Zheng Fuguwei, and Carol Moeli over. He took advantage of the free time to go to the gate of summoning. Zhou Zhou looked at the tall gate of summoning in front of him. With a thought, he used 400 billion units of basic materials and 10,000 extraordinary tier mist cores to upgrade the gate of summoning to epic tier elementary grade. A text notification appeared. Congratulations, your gate of summoning has been upgraded to epic tier elementary grade. You can summon 800 subjects every day. You will summon 600 professionals every day. Prompt. Under the influence of the unique title of the race Glory of the Pioneer 7, the number of subjects you can summon every day has reached 28,800. You will summon 608 professionals every day. Zhou Zhou's expression did not change after reading it. After the gate of summoning was upgraded to extraordinary tier advanced grade, the number of basic summoning subjects had reached a total of 2,800. After being buffed by the glory of the Pioneer 7, it directly increased by 8 times, becoming 28,800 people. Compared to the gate of summoning of extraordinary tier advanced grade, he could summon 10,000 more people. However, Even though 28,800 people were already a lot, it was naturally nothing to the current Zhou Zhou. It did not even cause him to feel emotional. He opened the next level up requirement of the Gate of Summoning. Construction upgrade, 500 billion units of wood, 500 billion units of fine sand, 500 billion units of metal, 500 billion units of stone, 1000 epic tier mist core, territory level upgraded to epic tier intermediate grade. Zhou Zhou noted down the upgrade requirements and retracted his gaze. He turned around and returned to the small blessed land. In the small blessed land. In the meeting hall, Zhou Zhou sat cross-legged on the golden throne, while His Highness was Mu Gu, Zhang Fugui, and Carol Moali. At this moment, the three of them looked at the dazzling palace around them, their eyes filled with surprise. My palace and this blessed land are not bad, right? Zhou Zhou smiled. Your Majesty, your small blessed land is really magical. From here, I can even sense my perception of the law of life more clearly. Carol Moali spoke first. Your subject's perception of the Crimson Law has also become a little clearer. Mugu nodded. This subject's perception of the law of commerce has also become a little clearer. Zhang Fugui chuckled. But that's it. Zhou Zhou said indifferently, not minding their flattery. As the master of this small blessed land, he was naturally the clearest about the environment here. It was only a small blessed land with an epic tier elementary grade. Even if it could allow life forms to have a clearer perception of the laws, it was equivalent to making an 800-degree nearsighted person become only 750-degree nearsighted. There was an improvement, but it was better than nothing. In this small blessed land, what Zhou Zhou valued the most was the function of the Divine Kingdom's foundation. Everything else was ordinary to the current Zhou Zhou. Perhaps when the territory level increased to low-tier deity level elementary grade, these functions might be able to shine brightly. From today onwards, you'll move in together. This small blessed land is very large. You can choose a spare room to stay in, or if you like freedom, you can just open a cave abode outside. I will also move the Reincarnation Sacred Palace here and place it in the Myriad Ingot Palace. At that time, if you want to use the time world to comprehend laws or improve your other abilities, go to the Myriad Ingot Palace. When you return, tell this news to the others. Zhou Zhou said. Those who could obtain his recognition and use the time world to comprehend laws to increase their abilities were all talents among the talents of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. He naturally had to make use of this small blessed land to increase their growth speed. Yes, Your Majesty. The three of them said respectfully. Now, let's talk about your respective improvements. Zhou Zhou said calmly. When Mugu heard this, he was the first to stand up. Your Majesty, I am now an epic tier elementary grade rancher. In addition, the number of monster shepherds under me has increased from 50,000 to 100,000. The number of monster ranches in my ranchland plain has also increased from 1,000 to 1,500. Moreover, the maximum capacity of each monster ranch has increased from 1 million to 1.5 million. Moreover, my ranchland plain has also been upgraded. Just the area alone has increased from more than 10 million square kilometers to more than 50 million square kilometers. I dare to guess that when I advance to the legendary tier elementary grade, my ranchland plain should be able to officially advance from a small plain to a standard 1,000 Crimson World. He said respectfully. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. Logically speaking, if extraordinaires wanted to obtain their own small world through advancement, they had to at least advance to the low-tier deity level elementary grade and possess a divine kingdom that was comparable to a small world. Mugu had actually broken this rule. Could he have his own small world at the extraordinary tier elementary grade? Was it because of the Lord talent, or the Crimson Rule? Zhou Zhou pondered silently. The Crimson Rule? That was the nomological path that Lord Crimson Overlord cultivated. In terms of level, it was inferior to the Supreme Law, but in terms of power at the same level, it might not necessarily be able to defeat the Crimson Law. This could be seen from the fact that the Supreme Will and the Crimson Overlord had been fighting for countless years without a victor. He thought about it for a while and stopped thinking about it. No matter how powerful the Crimson Rule was, Mugu was still his loyal subordinate. There was no need for him to let his imagination run wild. And he thought of something else. If that's the case, then wouldn't the number of ranch monsters that the Ranchland Plain can produce tomorrow reach 2.25 billion? At the thought of this, Zhou Zhou's eyes lit up. I'll use 400 of the 500 new monster ranches to nurture the yellow talisman Dao soldiers. The 100 new monster ranches will all be used to nurture the violent storm demon spirits, he immediately said. As such, among his 1,500 monster ranches, there were a total of 1,000 monster ranches nurturing yellow talisman Dao soldiers, 300 monster ranches to nurture the violent storm demon spirit. The other 200 monster ranches continued to nurture the mechanical fear falcon, the iron-eating bear, and the withered tree. This way, he would be able to obtain 4.5 billion yellow talisman Dao soldier recruitment books, 4.5 billion yellow talisman Dao soldier class change certificate, 1.35 trillion violent storm spirit recruitment books, and 1.35 trillion violent storm spirit class change certificate. The total number of soldiers under his command could even break through the 20 billion mark given 2 days. At this thought, a smile appeared on Zhou Zhou's face. Every time the monster ranch improved, it would bring him a huge surprise. Of course, in fact, Monster Ranch's epic tier lord talent was not very abnormal. If a lord only had the lord talent of Monster Ranch, he would at most obtain a safe place to train his troops. The most important reason why Zhou Zhou could unleash its effects to such an abnormal extent was that it had the support of the mythical tier, the only lord talent, King of Loots. The two complemented each other, allowing the Monster Ranch to unleash such an astonishing talent effect. Yes, Your Majesty, Mugu said respectfully after hearing Zhou Zhou's words. Zhou Zhou looked at Zheng Fugui. Seeing this, Zheng Fugui also stepped forward. Your Majesty, the number of mysterious merchants has increased from 200,000 to 500,000. The number of carriages transporting goods has also increased to 500,000. Also, all the mysterious merchants' abilities have been upgraded to the intermediate grade epic tier. The internal space of each mysterious merchant's mysterious ring has also increased from the original 10 million cubic meters to 50 million cubic meters. In addition, our treasure hunting ability has also increased in probability. It's easier to discover hidden treasures in the world during the business process. Not bad. Zhou Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he looked at Carol Moali. Your Majesty, the shelter of the Goddess of Life now has a total of 100 million clergymen, 100 million priests, 100 million nuns, and 1.5 billion holy knights of life. My strength has also advanced to the high-tier deity-level intermediate grade. Carol Moali stepped forward and said with a faint smile. Zhou Zhou smiled and nodded. As such, the upper limit of resurrection in his territory had been raised to the high-tier deity-level intermediate grade. High-tier deity-level intermediate grade god spirits and soldiers below could fight without any hesitation. From today onwards, among the god spirits under him, other than Heros, the only high-tier deity-level advanced grade god spirit, all the other god spirits could fight without fear of death. This was undoubtedly a huge improvement to his territory's combat strength. Then, Zhou Zhou chatted with them for a while before getting them to inform the gods, high-level generals, high-level lifestyle professionals, and the geniuses of the Blazing Sun Kingdom with extremely high potential in the other territories to settle down in the small blessed lands. Then, they would study the laws in the Myriad Ingots Hall together. Myriad Ingot Palace was a special building that could increase life form's perception of laws. Even though it was not big, it could take down tens of thousands of people. While they were out looking for someone, Zhou Zhou came to Myriad Ingot Palace alone. He found the best ingot palace in the main hall and entered it to begin comprehending the laws. However, less than a minute after he sat down to comprehend the Lord's laws, he opened his eyes in surprise. My law comprehension efficiency has actually increased so much? Compared to the previous time when I comprehended the Lord's laws, the efficiency of my law comprehension this time is at least 5 to 6 times higher. He fell into deep thought, then gradually came back to his senses. He had recently obtained too many treasures that could increase the effects of law comprehension. There was no need to mention the myriad ingot palace. The deep abyss had provided him with a portion of the Lord's Law talent and Lord's Law cultivation experience. It had also greatly increased his efficiency in comprehending Lord's Law. Not to mention the enhancement of the Holy Record, Regal Sage Dao Sword, and other race divine artifacts. In addition, during this period of time, he had increased the level of his Lord talent in large quantities, directly increasing his own Lord talent. With all kinds of abilities, talents, treasures, and divine artifacts on him, he had unknowingly become a fully deserving super genius in the Lord's Law. When he thought of this, he suddenly had a feeling. The opportunity to become a god is tonight, he muttered and took a deep breath. After calming himself down, he first sent a telepathic message to Heros, Qi Shintian, and the other immortals to protect him. Then, he entered the time world again with a calm mind and began to comprehend the Lord's laws. His Majesty is about to become a god. Upon receiving the news, Heros and the other god spirits were shocked. They immediately contacted the other god spirits, heroes, and high-ranking generals and began to set up defenses to prevent His Majesty's advancement to God Spirit from being accidentally interrupted. In less than a moment, everything from the capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom to the entire Blazing Sun Kingdom was set up like an iron bucket. Even if a true god-tier being descended, he would probably be able to stall for a while. How long has His Majesty been in the High Continent? He's actually about to become a god. Even though his strength was average, Zhou, who was rather aloof, was completely convinced after learning that Zhou Zhou was about to become a god. To be able to advance to become a god spirit in such a short period of time, in the history of the myriad worlds, other than some special circumstances, such as the divine spark heavenly gift, His Majesty could be said to be unique. Moreover, His Majesty is a lord, a peerless lord with unparalleled talent. Qi Shuantian's expression was solemn with obvious emotions. If His Majesty wants to become a god and become an immortal, the difficulty is hundreds or thousands of times higher than other life forms. However, His Majesty is actually about to become an immortal in such a short period of time. It's not an exaggeration to say that His Majesty's talent and luck are number one in history. The others nodded silently. Before His Majesty becomes a god spirit, we must seal the news. Nothing must happen. Now, I'll assign you your positions and specific responsibilities. As the first Legion commander of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Bai Yun began to give orders without hesitation. The other god spirits, heroes, and generals did not object and began to carry out Bai Yun's orders. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the night passed. When dawn arrived, boom, a roar that seemed to come from the depths of his heart and reality sounded. At this moment, all the living beings in the Blazing Sun Kingdom heard this roar. In the night sky, at this moment, countless stars suddenly lit up with extremely dazzling light. These lights were connected to each other and actually formed an incomparably noble and majestic dragon that stretched for thousands of kilometers. It was the regal dragon, Aozun. At that moment, he was entrenched in the starry sky. He was like the lord of the stars and the ruler of the universe, looking down at the small blessed land. It was as if he could see Zhou Zhou, who was sitting cross-legged in the myriad ingots hall, emitting a 9-colored divine light. The 9-colored divine light was divided into 5 colors: green, yellow, red, white, and black, as well as chaos, gray, dark purple, and gold. Among them, green, yellow, red, white, and black represented the Lord's laws. The other 4 colors were controlled by the Lord's laws. Chaos represented the laws of chaos and came from the chaos human bloodline. Gray represented the law of the end, which came from the Lord profession, the Lord of the end. The dark purple represented the abyssal laws and came from the bloodline of the deep abyss. The golden color represented the laws of light and came from his light sacred dragon bloodline. These were also the 4 most important and most powerful nomological laws on Zhou Zhou. At this moment, buzz. The sword of Xin Yuan and the regal sage Dao sword at Zhou Zhou's waist suddenly emitted sword hums. At the same time, Zhou Zhou slowly opened his eyes. His eyes actually emitted incomparably dazzling nine-colored divine light. They were like two pillars of light that pierced through the sky and shot towards the regal dragon in the starry sky. When the regal dragon saw this, it roared angrily and left the starry sky. From the distant starry sky, it turned into a golden dragon pillar of light and rushed towards Zhou Zhou on the ground. In the blink of an eye, it split into two and threw them into Zhou Zhou's body and the regal sage Dao sword at his waist. The four of them quickly fused together. After fusing, Zhou Zhou's body had an additional supreme aura. The surface of the regal sage Dao sword also had an incomparably noble aura. Zhou Zhou's body slowly floated up and finally stopped in the sky above the small blessed land. He scanned his surroundings. The entire small blessed land was glowing with golden light, making this space look very sacred. Zhou Zhou came to a realization. This small blessed land sensed that its lord was about to advance to a god spirit and was already prepared to evolve itself into a complete divine kingdom at any time. Zhou Zhou smiled faintly and looked up at the starry sky. From now on, he would also become a member of the stars. And this was only the beginning. A divine light flashed in his eyes. Then, he followed the golden pillar of light left behind by the regal dragon and shot into the starry sky. In the blink of an eye, he fused into the starry sky and disappeared. When the civil and military officials on the ground saw this scene, their eyes were filled with excitement and desire. Only the gods and spirits were a little shocked. Because, back when they became god spirits, there was no such earth-shattering phenomenon. What kind of god was His Majesty going to become? At the same time, the world phenomenon of the regal dragon's descent also shocked the super experts of the high continent and even the endless heavens. They looked at the regal dragon's body from afar, feeling shocked and puzzled. As the most mysterious dragon, this legendary dragon rarely appeared in front of the world. What had happened in the blazing sun kingdom to actually attract this existence's true body? They did not even think that someone had become a god. Only an extremely ancient existence could tell that the regal dragon was congratulating a certain existence on becoming a god. However, it was precisely because of this that the shock in their hearts was even greater than those existences who did not know the inside story. What kind of life form would attract a legendary tier existence like the regal dragon to congratulate them when they became gods? Even the number one race in the world, the original spirit race, or those unique, special life forms, or even the legendary dragons who were born to become master god-tier gods, had never seen this existence appear. Blazing Sun Kingdom, the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Could it be? A guess that they did not want to believe appeared in their minds. In a special space, Zhou Zhou, who was wearing the Emperor Dragon robe, was looking at this world in a daze. This was a world where it was raining heavily. However, the rain here was not water droplets. Instead, they were specks of light that emitted gorgeous light. Where is this? Zhou Zhou was at a loss. Wasn't he about to use the foundation of the divine kingdom to evolve his own divine kingdom? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't he enter the deepest part of the interlayer of space and choose a secret place to build his divine kingdom and officially become a god spirit? Why did he come here as soon as he entered the starry sky? But fortunately, at this moment, he could feel that all his strength was still on him, including the king's treasure box, divine artifacts, race divine artifacts, and so on. He looked at the light spot in front of him and hesitated for a moment. Then, he reached out to take it. A pink dot landed on his palm. A sliver of nomological insight suddenly appeared in Zhou Zhou's mind. The name of this law was the law of longevity. This comprehension of the law of longevity allowed he to understand how to extend his lifespan, some spells that could extend the lifespan of other life forms, and an incomplete law skill called the longevity law. Zhou Zhou was stunned. He looked at the light spots that covered the entire world in front of him. Suddenly, an unbelievable guess appeared in his mind. He immediately went to pick up another gray dot. When this speck of gray light landed in his hand, he immediately understood that this speck of light represented the law comprehension of the corrosive laws. Then, as if he had gone crazy, he rushed into the place where the rain was the densest. At that time, a large number of nomological light spots landed on him. Law of light, law of divination, law of overturning, law of grass, law of ink, law of suffering, law of misfortune. All sorts of unbelievable law comprehensions appeared in his mind. The law comprehension contained in every drop of rainwater was enough for a life form to comprehend a path to becoming a god. Zhou Zhou was shocked and confused. What exactly was this place? It could actually give birth to such a magical rain? Could it be that this was the source of the laws? At this moment, a pure white light suddenly appeared in the sky, then slowly condensed into a pure white eye. Zhou Zhou was stunned and immediately reacted. This was the Supreme Eye's phenomenon manifested by the Supreme Will. Hence, he hurriedly said respectfully, "Greetings, Supreme Will, Lord of the Blazing Sun." A gender-neutral and indifferent voice sounded. "This is not the land of the origin of laws, but my supreme domain. You can understand it as you have come around me." Zhou Zhou's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he listened to the Supreme Will continue. "Even though you came around me, you are not in the same dimension as me, so you can't see me. You don't have to see me for the time being. As you are the first living being among the lords of the myriad races to become a god spirit with the Lord's law, I have specially bestowed you with a divine kingdom in my supreme domain. The endless nomological rain in front of you is only a small ability that my supreme domain shows. However, even so, it can greatly accelerate the growth of your divine kingdom after you establish your Lord's nomological path divine kingdom. Lord of the Blazing Sun, build your divine kingdom here." The Supreme Will said. "Yes, Your Excellency," Zhou Zhou said respectfully. Then, his expression turned serious. The nine-colored light on his body shone brightly, and he said softly, "I am the king of all living beings." As soon as he finished speaking, a nine-colored light, surrounded by the phantom of a small blessed land, suddenly appeared from his glabella. Then, it left his body and flew into the rain before floating in midair. It was the seed of the law skill, King. Divine Kingdom, founded. Zhou Zhou raised his right hand and tapped the seed gently. A vast amount of divine power surged out of his body and fused into the law seed. At the same time, the Supreme Domain seemed to have sensed it too. A vortex that emitted countless lights appeared in the sky. Then, like a celestial river pouring down, endless divine power descended and surged into the seed of the law, King. Under the influx of the double divine power, the seed of the law, which was originally only the size of a fist, began to expand at a visible speed. His divine kingdom was born, Rumble. A majestic and glorious golden kingdom, filled with a supreme aura, expanded rapidly in all directions. In the blink of an eye, its diameter had reached 10,000 kilometers, and it was still rapidly expanding. 30,000 kilometers, 100,000 kilometers, 1 million kilometers, 10 million kilometers. When the Divine Kingdom building reached a diameter of 90 million kilometers, the expansion of the Divine Kingdom finally stopped. Right on the heels of that, a world barrier spread further away with the Divine Kingdom as the center, dividing the inside and outside of the barrier into two worlds. Inside the world barrier was the Divine Kingdom world that had expanded from the Divine Kingdom. This place would undergo natural evolution, or it would listen to the will of the God Spirit to interfere and evolve. It could appear as a continental world, or a celestial universe with planets and stars. It could also derive plane worlds and build a complete multi-plane small Divine Kingdom world. It could also have nothing but a lonely Divine Kingdom. When the true believers, devout believers, fanatic believers, and Holy Spirit tier believers of the God Spirit died, their souls would ascend to the Divine Kingdom and accompany the God Spirit forever. The believers were not dead as long as the God Spirit was not destroyed. They would be free from the pain of birth, aging, illness, and death. As long as they were not killed, the believers who were promoted to the Divine Kingdom could basically proclaim eternal life. Outside the world barrier, even though it was not managed by the God Spirits, In order to protect the divine kingdom from being discovered, the god spirits would usually set up layers of defense outside the divine kingdom world to protect the divine kingdom from being damaged. Even though Zhou Zhou was currently in the supreme domain and the chances of him discovering his divine kingdom were slim, he still decided to add a layer of defense to his divine kingdom. He opened his right hand and saw an illusory heart that seemed to reflect countless dream worlds appearing in his palm. It was the nine-headed nightmare realm demon god's heart, a true god-tier advanced grade divine artifact. It shouldn't be a problem to protect my divine kingdom with this true god-tier advanced grade array, the Nine Realms Demon God Dreamfall Array, right? Zhou Zhou looked at the heart and muttered. With the Nine Worlds Divine Demon Dreamfall Array, let alone a true god tier, even if 10 true god tier descended, they might not be able to discover the location of his divine kingdom. Even if they discovered the location of his divine kingdom, if they dared to barge into his array formation, they would still be in danger of dying. In this way, unless a master god tier descended, his divine kingdom would basically not be in any danger. And if the master god tier really descended and discovered his divine kingdom and wanted to destroy it, if he really encountered such bad luck, Zhou Zhou would accept it. Perhaps even if a real master god tier descends, he might not be able to destroy my divine kingdom. This is the territory of the supreme will after all. Not to mention master god tier. Even if the abyss will descended here, it probably wouldn't dare to attack me casually, right? Moreover, the Supreme will shouldn't ignore a genius lord like me and be suddenly destroyed by other experts, right? Zhou Zhou muttered in his heart. The Supreme Will was the true guardian of the divine kingdom in his heart. Even though this god of protection might not really attack at that time, the Supreme Domain had no time. After an unknown period of time, the expansion of the Divine Kingdom world was finally completed. After the expansion of the Divine Kingdom ended, a pure white water droplet fell from the sky and landed on Zhou Zhou's Divine Kingdom. It quickly fused into it. As a Divine Kingdom, Zhou Zhou could clearly sense that something had changed in his Divine Kingdom. This change was indescribable, but Zhou Zhou could sense that it was an extremely good change for the future development of his Divine Kingdom. It was not mixed with any malice. This should be the blessing of the Supreme Will, Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Then, he closed his eyes and began to sense the overall situation of the Divine Kingdom. After a few seconds, he opened his eyes with a look of surprise. The world diameter of my small world is actually 1,000,000,000 light-years. According to my inherited memories, this is already comparable to the diameter of some middle worlds, right? Zhou Zhou was shocked. Normally speaking, the small world that had just been born had a standard diameter of about 10 light-years. When it grew to the level of the middle world, its diameter was usually only 100 million light-years. As for his small world, its initial diameter was actually 1 billion light-years. This was already comparable to the size of the Middle Qian Divine Kingdom world of some veteran true God-tier elementary grade god spirits. Is it because I walked the God's path of the Lord's law and the strength of my chaotic sacred power increased again after becoming a god spirit? Or is there another reason? Zhou Zhou thought about why his divine kingdom and the divine kingdom world had become so huge. After figuring this out, he could also focus on improving in the future. He did not have to worry about not having a direction to improve. Firstly, he was a deity who had achieved the Lord's law path. Naturally, it was the most important reason. The Lord's laws governed all laws and controlled everything. It was not surprising that he could create a divine kingdom world with such a shocking diameter. Secondly, the strength of the chaotic sacred power in his body had increased again. The divine power energy in a god spirit's body was very important for building a divine kingdom. It could be said to be the basic material for building a divine kingdom. No matter how powerful his initial divine power was, he could build a divine kingdom of the corresponding height. As for the chaos sacred power that Zhou Zhou possessed, it was originally an all-round energy that was similar to divine power, but higher than divine power possessed by the bloodline of the low-tier deity-level elementary grade chaos human. As the basic material for constructing the divine kingdom, he was naturally in charge of the chaos holy power. Even though after he became a god spirit, his chaos holy power did not undergo any qualitative changes. But even so, his chaos holy power was thousands of times stronger than before. Before he advanced to become a god spirit, the chaotic sacred power in his body was liquid water. After becoming a god spirit, the chaotic sacred power in his body had been strengthened thousands of times and condensed into incomparably hard, solid ice. The two were naturally incomparable. Currently, he could use the low-tier deity-level elementary-grade chaotic sacred power, activate the king, and then use the true god-tier divine artifacts at the true god-tier level elementary grade. He could already perfectly unleash the powerful power of the true god-tier divine artifacts, and he could even do it with ease. Which meant he now had a combat strength comparable to a true god. Zhou Zhou was even confident that he could defeat some god spirits who had just advanced to the true god-tier elementary grade without true god-tier divine artifacts, even if they had high-tier deity-level divine artifacts. It did not seem surprising that such a powerful chaotic sacred power could build such a powerful divine kingdom and divine kingdom world. Apart from that, of course, Zhou Zhou's other bloodlines, talents, law skills, law comprehension, professions, skills, all of these added together should have contributed a large portion of his divine power. Zhou Zhou knew what to do. Then, his attention landed on the name of the immortal he had awakened. Even though he had taken the path of becoming a god spirit in the divine kingdom, he had also taken on the top extraordinary tier profession, the Qi practitioner. Therefore, after he had become a god spirit, his Qi practitioner profession had also successfully advanced to the true immortal realm. Naturally, he would have the names of both God and immortal at the same time. However, when he saw the name of his immortal god, his expression immediately changed slightly. Lord name, Lord of the Blazing Sun, God/immortal, common people's regal, low-tier deity level elementary grade, / true immortal realm elementary grade. Why is my immortal name so special? What's the name of a regal? The alias of a lord's law is called the regal law. Zhou Zhou muttered, weird. Under normal circumstances, weren't they something god or something immortal usually? However, the name common people's regal sounded quite domineering. The common people here referred to all life forms. Naturally, this included the life forms of all races. Regal referred to the supreme and noble emperor. Common people's regal could be understood as the emperor of all life forms. It was quite compatible with the incantation, I am the king of all life, that he chanted when he used the law skill, king. Just as Zhou Zhou was deep in thought, the supreme will's voice suddenly sounded. Regal. It refers to the unique title of becoming an immortal god with the Lord's law. Only living beings who walk the path of the Lord's law from the beginning and become immortals and gods are qualified to be called regal. As for the common people, it comes from your law skill, Kingda. Thank you, Lord Supreme Will, for clearing my doubts. Zhou Zhou was instantly flattered. He did not expect his soft muttering to be able to attract the attention of the Supreme Will and clear his doubts. If Zhou Zhou did not know his background, he would have thought that he was the Supreme Will's biological son. The Supreme Will did not respond to Zhou Zhou's gratitude. Zhou Zhou didn't dare to pay it any mind. His gaze returned to the nine-headed nightmare realm demon god's heart on his right palm. He had a thought. The chaotic sacred power in his body flowed into the heart of the demon god. The next second, the heart soared into the sky and shot straight into his divine kingdom. It sat in the main hall of the divine kingdom, above Zhou Zhou's statue. Immediately after, Zhou Zhou's statue and the entire divine kingdom began to continuously inject chaotic sacred power into the nine-headed nightmare realm demon god's heart. Under the infusion of the mighty chaotic sacred power, the nine-headed nightmare realm demon god's heart suddenly lit up with a scarlet light. As soon as the scarlet light appeared, it spread rapidly in all directions. Before long, it reached 1 billion light-years away and arrived at the border of the Zhou Zhou divine kingdom. At this point, it did not stop. Instead, it continued to expand outwards until it reached about 10 billion light-years. At this moment, The divine kingdom world seemed to be enveloped by an incomparably huge scarlet light barrier. When Zhou Zhou saw this, he activated the Nine Worlds Demon God Dreamfall array. Just as this thought rose in his mind, the scarlet light barrier, which was 10 billion light-years in diameter, gradually retracted its scarlet light. After the light completely converged, an incomparably fantastic scene slowly appeared on its surface, as if it was a boundless dream from the myriad worlds. Right on the heels of that, this endless dream, along with the light barrier and the divine kingdom world inside it, slowly disappeared from the supreme domain, as if it had never appeared. Zhou Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. With this Nine Worlds Demon God Fallen Dream Array, his divine kingdom should be safe under most circumstances. Then, he wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the void and meditated to circulate the Chaos Origin Manual to recover his chaotic sacred power. The Chaos Origin Manual was a supreme cultivation manual created by the legendary Chaos humans. It could be cultivated from the Chi refinement stage to the perfected Saint realm, Master God tier advanced grade. Zhou Zhou naturally had no problem cultivating it now. Moreover, Zhou Zhou noticed something else. There seemed to be a huge difference in the flow of time between the supreme domain and the high continent. He would realize that not much time had passed when he returned to the high continent, no matter how long he stayed in the supreme domain. Therefore, when he was meditating to recover the chaotic sacred power, wasn't worried at all that something unexpected would happen to the blazing Sun Kingdom without he around. Anyway, it wouldn't be long before he returned. Half a month later, in the supreme domain, in the endless reign of laws, Zhou Zhou, who was emitting a 9-colored divine light, closed his eyes and sat cross-legged in the void, like a sleeping baby. At this moment, he slowly opened his eyes, which were actually emitting a supreme golden light. After a long while, the golden light slowly dissipated and returned to its black pupils when he first arrived in the high continent. However, it was very different from the previous black pupils. At this moment, Zhou Zhou's black pupils looked extremely pure, but they also contained supreme dignity. 1 month. My chaotic sacred power completely recovered on the 9th day. For the rest of the time, I used this nomological reign to comprehend my Lord's nomological laws. This is really a holy land. In just a month, I actually comprehended my nomological skill, King, to the low-tier deity level elementary grade. Zhou Zhou suddenly sighed. As a regal who planned to specialize in the nomological path of a lord, he naturally wouldn't give up on the big and take the small. He would study the endless laws contained in the endless reign of laws. That was what the immortal gods of the chaos law did. As the common people's regal who walked the Lord's law, in the past month, he had been working hard to control the nomological reign. He was trying to make the nomological laws that filled the sky be used by he to raise the level of his king's nomological skills as much as possible. It had now been proved that he had made the right choice. This month of slavery had directly raised his extraordinary tier law skill, King, to the low-tier deity level elementary grade. Zhou Zhou gave it a thought and information about the law skill King appeared. Law skill name, King. Law skill quality, low-level deity tier elementary grade. Law skill ability overview. As a low-tier deity level elementary grade Lord law skill, you can mark 1% of your subjects and control everything they have, including but not limited to appearance, bloodline, skills, weapons, law skills, and even their fate. When you control everything that the marked subject has, the subject doesn't have to suffer any negative effects. 1% of subjects. I have 12 billion subjects under my command, so I'll have the full strength of 120 million subjects. Zhou Zhou chuckled. What does the power of 120 million subjects mean? Even if these subjects were all ordinary people, everything that so many ordinary people had added up was enough to cause an ordinary lord to undergo a qualitative change and directly possess an ability comparable to a god spirit. Needless to say, most of the subjects under Zhou Zhou were extraordinary individuals. It was also because there were so many superhumans added together that he had the combat power of a regular true god tier. Moreover, other than the law skill king, what surprised me the most was that I actually used this law reign to comprehend a second law skill. At the thought of this, Zhou Zhou's smile widened. This was a Lord law skill. It was much harder to comprehend than ordinary law skills. It was like the law skill king. If not for Bodhi Supreme extracting it from the thousands of Lord Talent crystal fragments, Zhou Zhou might not have been able to touch the shadow of the Lord Law skill until now. Following that, he stopped thinking and respectfully said to the sky, "My divine kingdom has been established, and my Lord's laws have improved greatly. Thank you, Lord Supreme Will. I don't dare to stay long. I'll take my leave now." How could Zhou Zhou not dare to stay for long? He couldn't wait to stay here for as long as possible. But firstly, he could not stay away from the blazing Sun Kingdom for too long. Secondly, he had already gained a lot here. Thirdly, and most importantly, he could sense that this place was beginning to reject him. Clearly, he had already stayed for a long time and had to leave. That was why he had taken the initiative to leave. Go. The voice of the Supreme will rang out. Zhou Zhou heaved a sigh of relief. After bowing respectfully again, he disappeared from this domain along with the repulsive force of the Supreme Domain. After a long time, a voice that was gender-neutral sounded softly with a hint of worry. When will the Lord of all races appear? High continent, in the starry sky. An illusory passageway that emitted the brilliance of thousands of laws appeared from space. Then, a dignified figure in the Emperor Dragon robe that emitted 9-colored divine light walked out. It was none other than Zhou Zhou. The psychedelic passageway behind him also disappeared after he walked out. This is the first time I've come to such a high place. Zhou Zhou looked at the night sky and stars around him, and a smile appeared on his face. He remembered that when he had just grasped the ability to fly, he had once relied on it to fly high in the sky. In the end, not long after they flew, they couldn't withstand the dangers at higher altitudes, including air pressure, low temperature, fog monsters, exotic beasts, and many other factors. They were forced to stop flying and return to their territory. He could rush out of the high continent with the chaos sacred body that had advanced to the god spirit level even if he didn't do anything. He could come to the boundless starry sky outside the high continent and ignore most external dangers. It felt like it was only yesterday when he was fantasizing about becoming a god spirit. I've completely grown into a true expert. Even if I can't be said to be a top-notch expert, I can already be considered invincible among the lords of all races. I can also exchange the top civilizations of the myriad races for one. Zhou Zhou smiled. After knowing that he already had the combat power of a regular true god tier, the civilizations of the myriad races that wanted to deal with him, no matter how unwilling they were, would probably have to reconsider their attitude towards him. He swept his gaze across the cosmos before his gaze landed on a star that emitted 9-colored light. The star was incomparably huge, with a diameter of 90 million kilometers. The diameter of Earth was only 12,000 kilometers, and the diameter of the Sun was only 1.4 million kilometers. This 9-colored star had a diameter of 7,500 times that of Earth and 64 times that of the Sun. From this, it could be seen how huge he was. Is this the projection from my divine kingdom star onto the world? It's all right. It's quite bright and obvious. Zhou Zhou touched his chin, feeling very satisfied. From now on, I will be one of the stars in the world. When living beings in the myriad worlds look up at the starry sky, they will also discover the location of my star. Most importantly, the divine kingdom stars are the same as the god spirits. They are eternal. Not only does it not have a lifespan limit, it will also affect the operation of the laws of the heavens. Wherever the divine kingdom star shines, my concept body will even appear in the myriad worlds. It will create all kinds of legendary tier legends in the myriad worlds and spread my mythical tier stories. To gods who don't believe in the path of god spirits, this is only increasing their reputation in the myriad worlds. However, for a god like me, who has become a god with laws and beliefs, this can greatly increase the number of my believers. It can allow me to quickly accumulate chaotic sacred power and speed up the advancement of a higher level of God's Spirit. It's just that this process requires a lot of time. Therefore, there is also common sense among the God spirits. The more ancient a God spirit is, as long as they can spread their faith normally over a long period of time, they will often be extremely powerful. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. Then he shook his head and smiled, not minding it. He had the blessing of the war god. Until he reached the Master God tier stage, this powerful Lord talent would continue to work. Therefore, he didn't need such a slow advancement method at all. Creating the legendary tier of the myriad worlds through concepts and accumulating the faith of the myriad worlds was actually not necessary for him to advance to a God spirit. He closed his eyes and sensed the projected star of the divine kingdom. Soon, he felt as if he had transformed into a huge star that was spinning in the starry sky. At the same time, he was orbiting the two supreme stars, the lunar star and the solar star, in a unique and profound orbit. Its starlight illuminated the myriad worlds. It could even sense the living beings in the myriad worlds who had faith in him. These living beings who believed in him had a thread of faith between his main body and the projected stars. Through this thread of faith, Zhou Zhou could accept their power of faith and increase the upper limit of his divine power to slowly increase his God spirit realm. As a deity who accepted faith, Zhou Zhou could also sense the state of his believers through this thread of faith and use it to bless them. The higher the level of faith a believer had, the more powerful God spirits he would bless them. Believers at the Holy Spirit level could even use the God descend technique to make him descend on the Holy Spirit in the form of a clone or his main body. From there, the Holy Spirit would have the strength of a God spirit. Then, it could perform miracles, create a sect, and even fight with enemy God spirits to stabilize its faith. However, this method was harmful to the Holy Spirit's body, and the Holy Spirit was the main force that provided faith. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, ordinary God spirits who believed in gods were unwilling to use this divine descent technique. Let me see how many people in my territory believe in me, and how many subjects are qualified to advance to the Holy Spirit. Zhou Zhou was looking forward to it. However, his expression changed slightly not long after he investigated. This was because he discovered that among his believers, there were a large number of faith threads from the Blazing Sun Kingdom's believers who suddenly lost their vitality and looked ordinary. At the same time, souls flew over from the High Continent, wanting to follow the direction of the thread of faith to his divine kingdom and become his subjects. This is, my believers are collectively dead? He pondered for a moment and temporarily rejected these believers from going to the divine kingdom. He also ordered them to temporarily guard their bodies and wait for the small resurrection spell to revive. After the souls of the believers went deep into the divine kingdom, they could follow the God spirits and live forever. However, there was also a huge flaw. That was to lose the ability to grow independently. Unless the believers who ascended to the divine kingdom were injected with the divine power of a God spirit and forcefully increased their strength, it was impossible for them to improve further in their entire lives. They could only stay at the strength stage before they died. This was not what Zhou Zhou wanted to see. Therefore, Zhou Zhou would only allow them to ascend to the divine kingdom and continue to follow him as a pilgrim if they really could not be resurrected. Pilgrim, after death, one would ascend to the divine kingdom and obtain eternal life as a believer. He would have the obligation to protect his God and even participate in the battle of gods. Zhou Zhou knew that his subjects could be resurrected. So even though he knew that the Blazing Sun Kingdom was in danger, he wasn't in a hurry. Instead, he chose a soul that was preparing to return to the Blazing Sun Kingdom and communicated with it with his divine sense. Zhao, what happened in the Blazing Sun Kingdom? How long has it been since I left the Blazing Sun Kingdom? Zhou Zhou asked this devout believer named Zhao. Your Majesty. When Zhaoda's soul heard Zhou Zhou's voice, he immediately became excited. He knelt on the ground and said respectfully and angrily, You have only left for less than an hour. Not long after you left, 3 scarlet true god-tier god spirits suddenly descended outside our kingdom with more than 100 god spirits. Our soldiers of the blazing sun kingdom, the soldiers of the other armies, and the worshipped god spirits immediately counterattacked after discovering these invaders. However, even though the number of enemies is not many, all of them are powerful god spirits. It's difficult for the army's group attack to be effective against them. Moreover, the number of our god spirits is far inferior to theirs. In addition, not all of our god spirits have attacked. This makes it difficult for us to injure them when facing more than 100 scarlet god spirits. At this point, Zhao Da's face was filled with shame. In addition to more than 10 billion soldiers and nearly 20 god spirits, there was actually no good solution for facing more than 100 enemies. To the soldiers and god spirits of the blazing sun kingdom, who had always won battles, this was simply a huge humiliation. Even if the other party was a god spirit, he shouldn't have lost so miserably. Zhou Zhou didn't think much of it. In the previous battle that involved more than 100 hostile god spirits, Zhou Zhou had borrowed nearly 70 immortals from the human race to have the capital to win that war. Now that the reinforcements had already left, only the soldiers and god spirits of the blazing sun kingdom were left. Under such circumstances, it was already very good that they had dragged on until now. As for why not all the immortals on their side were mobilized, it was naturally to protect he and wait for him to return from the supreme domain. At the same time, Zhou Zhou also thought of a problem. In such an incident involving a true god tier leading a team to attack the capital, the former Zenith Heaven Cave Observation Array was already very useless. The Zenith Heaven Cave Observation Array could only detect the fate aura of enemies invading the territory after all. Even though this method was not bad, it could only sense it and not defend against it. If an enemy who was good at spatial teleportation led a large army and directly teleported to the capital city to execute a decapitation operation, then no matter how fast the Zenith Heaven Cave Observation Array was, it would be useless. For example, the current situation. Even though he hadn't caused much damage yet, his army had indeed been caught off guard. He had to add an automatic defense function outside the Zenith Heaven Cave Observation Array. This way, the safety of the kingdom would be guaranteed with the combination of reconnaissance and automatic defense measures. Even if the enemy launched another surprise attack, it would at least give his soldiers and god spirits some room to react. As Zhou Zhou pondered, he asked Zhao Da, "Are those 3 true god tiers and the 100-odd scarlet god spirits from the Empire-level Scarlet Lords that we defeated?" "That's right. That's what Legion Commander Wu said too." Legion Commander Wu also said that they are here for revenge. As long as we hold on until your majesty returns, all danger will be resolved. Zhao Da said, "I got it." Zhou Zhou nodded. "You've worked hard. Go back to your body first. Be careful not to miss the resurrection time. I will deal with these scarlet god spirits who are true god tiers but have come to launch a sneak attack." Zhou Zhou said, since his danger prediction and talent intuition didn't give him any premonition of danger, he would go and deal with these enemies. "Yes, Your Majesty." Zhao Da agreed without hesitation. When he heard His Majesty's voice, he knew that the Blazing Sun Kingdom would definitely win this sudden war. This was the confidence that their Majesty gave them. Seeing Zhao Da follow the thread of faith and return to the Blazing Sun Kingdom, Zhou Zhou didn't hesitate. He directly activated the low-tier deity-level elementary grade king and let more than 120 million subjects bless him. In an instant, Zhou Zhou's aura began to increase at a terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, he was infinitely close to the level of a true god tier. At this stage, she had stopped Zhou Zhou for a long time. But now, with a thought from Zhou Zhou, with the augmentation of everything the billions of subjects possessed, he directly broke through this bottleneck and reached the level of a true god-tier elementary grade. Crack! A blade light that seemed to be able to destroy the world flashed across the starry sky. Zhou Zhou pulled out the universe-destroying blade from his waist. "This is my first battle since becoming a god. I'll use these 3 scarlet true god-tier god spirits to sharpen my blade." Zhou Zhou looked at the saber that appeared like the destruction of the universe and muttered. Then, his divine body instantly disappeared from the spot. After 3 teleportations, Zhou Zhou arrived above the blazing Sun Kingdom. As soon as he arrived, Zhou Zhou witnessed the scene of more than 100 Scarlet God spirits wantonly killing the blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers in the chaotic army. About 70 Scarlet God spirits were stopped by the 18 Scarlet God spirits, 20 Sura Swordsman army spirits, and 10 Weapon God army spirits. As for the remaining 30-odd Scarlet God spirits, they kept attacking the blazing Sun Kingdom. However, under the fearless defense of the soldiers, no matter how many powerful and treacherous methods these Scarlet God spirits used and how many soldiers they killed, they were unable to take a step into the blazing Sun Kingdom. These soldiers were using their lives to stop these God spirits. Zhou Zhou was moved. However, his heart had become colder and angrier precisely because of this. He looked around and quickly noticed a small world hidden in the interlayer of space. In that small world, a scarlet palace stood tall. 3 scarlet true god tiers were among them. 2 of the scarlet true god tiers were wearing taboo robes. At a glance, they could put life forms in danger of being contaminated. They were the scarlet true god tiers of the forbidden archmage lineage. The other had the face of a black goat and exuded a depraved aura. It was a devil lord from hell. All 3 of them had the strength of a true god tier elementary grade. They were afraid of the Supreme Agreement and did not dare to attack in the High Continent, so they hid in this small space and watched the battle below to prevent any accidents. Zhou Zhou sneered. There was no need to think too much about it. These fellows must have seen the phenomenon of him becoming a god. They, who had already suffered at his hands, had specially come to cause trouble. They probably wanted to interrupt his process of becoming a god. Boom. He did not hesitate to emit his god spirit aura, maximizing his presence. The 3 scarlet true god tiers had indeed noticed his existence. Their eyes immediately lit up, and then they were shocked and bewildered. Wasn't this kid not even a god spirit previously? How did he become a true god tier god spirit now? They looked at each other and attacked together, shooting 3 beams of forceful light at Zhou Zhou. Zhou Zhou saw through the 3 forceful guiding lights at a glance and did not resist. Instead, he allowed the other party to pull him into the other party's world. Looks like he only used some forbidden secret technique to temporarily advance to the true god tier level. A taboo Dharma god sneered at Zhou Zhou. You can't even resist the forceful guiding light. To think that we thought you were a great enemy. After killing him, I will bring his corpse to my lord. The other forbidden archmage said calmly. Then I want his soul. The devil lord licked his lips and looked at Zhou Zhou greedily. Just the 3 of you? Zhou Zhou, who was restrained by the forceful guiding light, suddenly spoke. What? The devil lord was stunned. Nothing. Zhou Zhou's divine body shook and dissipated the forceful guiding light on his body. Then, he swung his saber and slashed out 3 saber beams that were tens of millions of kilometers long. He cut the Devil Lord into several irregular parts and looked at the other 2 forbidden archmages. I just think that you guys are really bold. The 2 forbidden archmages, who were wearing taboo cloaks, looked at the Devil Lord that had been cut into several parts with chills all over their bodies. They looked at Zhou Zhou with trembling hearts. How could this human be so terrifying? That was a genuine true god-tier elementary grade expert. In the myriad worlds, one could control the law origin of a middle world and address countless life forms as Tao ancestors. He was actually killed by him with a single slash? The Devil Lord was still wailing. He tried his best to recover his divine body, but he was shocked to discover that there was a strange dark red law power attached to the edge of his cut-open divine body. This dark red law power not only prevented his divine body from connecting and recovering together, but it was also constantly destroying his divine body. It was as if he would not stop until his divine body was completely devoured. This is the law of extermination? The Devil Lord was shocked. Law of extermination, heavenly destruction and earthly destruction. This was an extremely famous branch of the law of destruction. As a veteran true god tier who had become a god for a long time, he naturally knew the name of this law. However, he never expected that he would become its victim. A true god tier who walked the path of law of extermination. Even among the true god tier, this was an existence that was enough to make one tremble in fear. Could this king of the blazing sun be the reincarnation of some master god tier mighty figure? Otherwise, how could he have reached such a ridiculous level in such a short period of time? Quickly kill him. This king of the blazing sun walks the law of extermination. As long as he doesn't die, the power of destruction won't be extinguished. If I die, you won't be able to escape either. The Devil Lord endured the pain and roared at the two forbidden archmages. At the same time, he used his divine power to resist the corrosion of the law of extermination while enduring his heavy injuries. He formed seals with his hands and cast a mystic technique. Immediately after, his body suddenly turned blood red. Following that, the incomplete body parts were forcefully temporarily connected to his divine body, allowing his body to temporarily recover. Then, this Devil Lord took out a blood-colored flag from his king's treasure vault. From its aura, it was a top-notch high-tier deity-level divine artifact. The two forbidden archmages looked at each other. They knew that their temporary companion could not hold on for long, so without hesitation, they took out a black and beating heart from their chests. Then, they chanted an incantation and saw their hearts rise strangely and fly into the sky. The two forbidden archmages chanted strange incantations below. As for these two hearts, they began to accumulate terrifying forbidden law power and prepare for a fatal strike. Zhou Zhou raised his eyebrows. He wanted to accumulate energy to unleash his ultimate move. Without hesitation, he swung the universe-destroying blade at the two forbidden archmages and slashed out two chaotic blade chi. Battle formation rule, blade rule, flame rule, ice blood rule, winter rule, dragon rule, sharp rule, spatial rule. Under the control of the Lord's laws, thousands of laws were attached to it. Coupled with the enhancement of this true god-tier advanced grade divine artifact's law of extermination, this chaotic blade chi, which was originally created by him, had a terrifying power comparable to an intermediate true god tier. In an instant, the two chaotic blade chi turned into two colorful streams of light that swept past the bodies of the two forbidden archmages. The powerful chaotic blade chi directly obliterated the divine bodies and souls of the two forbidden archmages, almost killing them. However, Zhou Zhou did not look happy. He looked up at the two black hearts. After the two forbidden archmages died, not only did the two black hearts not stop accumulating strength, but they also seemed to have eaten some great tonic. They suddenly strengthened a lot and began to emit an even more terrifying aura. Zhou Zhou narrowed his eyes slightly. Were these two forbidden archmages planning to sacrifice themselves to these two strange hearts to increase their power? No wonder he did not see them setting up any defense around him. It turned out that they had already planned it. At this moment, the two hearts flew towards him with the terrifying power of the forbidden laws. Just as Zhou Zhou was about to dodge, he saw the Devil Lord not far away roar angrily and wave the blood-colored flag in his hand. Myriad Demon Soul Devourer. In Zhou Zhou's soul consciousness, he emitted a faint white light and was sitting cross-legged in the void of his sea of consciousness with his eyes closed. Crack, crack, crack. Devils with two horns on their foreheads and ferocious expressions, exuding monstrous evil auras, tore through the void from their sea of consciousness and rushed to bite Zhou Zhou. There were more than 10,000 of them. Moreover, there was no lack of lesser gods, mid-tier deity levels, and even high-tier deity level demons. At this critical moment, Zhou Zhou's eyelids twitched. The next second, the entire sea of consciousness shone brightly with willpower. There was no lack of god spirit-level devils. They did not even have time to scream before they disappeared into the void of the sea of consciousness. After doing this, Zhou Zhou continued to sit cross-legged in the sea of consciousness with his eyes closed. It was as if nothing had happened. In reality, after the Devil Lord used the myriad demon flag to command thousands of devils to devour Zhou Zhou's soul, he put down his hand confidently. He looked at Zhou Zhou in the distance, and a sinister smile appeared on his face. In the myriad demon flag, he had painstakingly spent more than 30,000 years to capture more than 12,000 high-level demons. Among the tens of thousands of demons, from legendary tier demons to high-tier deity-level advanced grade demons, none of them were weak. Devils were good at toying, controlling, and damaging souls. Coupled with the unique ability of the myriad demon flag, they could directly pass through the enemy's external defense and open a passageway in the enemy's soul sea to attack their weakest soul or soul. The two of them opened the door first before releasing the dog. With a series of smooth and small moves, as long as the other party didn't have a true god-level soul defense divine artifact, he could even kill two true god-tier enemies. This was his greatest trump card. He's just a lord of a myriad race that has temporarily advanced to the true god-tier level with an extraordinary secret technique. I don't believe that you even have soul defense true god-tier divine artifacts. Even if your luck is heaven-defying and you can guarantee that you won't die under this move of mine, the attacks of the two forbidden archmages will still follow. I want to see how you can dodge them. The Devil Lord thought to himself. When he used the myriad demon soul devourer, he had the intention of killing the other party, but the most important thing was to assist the two forbidden archmages in successfully attacking. This was to prevent the Lord of the Blazing Sun from using any tricks to dodge the attacks of the two forbidden archmages. But in the next second, the Devil Lord's eyes widened as if it had seen something incredible. Right on the heels of that, his eyes, ears, nostrils, and other holes shot out beams of pure white light. The Devil Lord's body stiffened. Then, as if it had lost its strength, it lay in the void, lifeless. Zhou Zhou looked at the two black hearts flying towards him. Amidst the majestic taboo laws, he could vaguely see the shadows of the two forbidden archmages. They looked at Zhou Zhou with a sinister smile, as if they had already seen the dawn of victory. I see. First, you'll sacrifice yourselves. Then, after killing me, you'll use the nutrients from my corpse to be reborn. Not only did these two hearts accumulate all the powers of these two forbidden archmages, they also contain the energy of the two chaotic blade chi that I just released. Once they explode, it will be earth-shattering. Zhou Zhou was not afraid of this scene. Instead, he commented calmly. Then, he smiled. Just as well. I'll show you my newly comprehended Lord Law skill in the Supreme Domain's nomological reign. Lord's Law skill, uniting all laws, controlling the stars. He thought to himself. Then, he softly chanted the name of this law skill. He suddenly raised his right hand and struck out with his palm, aiming at the two forbidden archmage hearts that were flying towards him. In the next second, the palm phantom, he pushed out and quickly expanded to 30 to 40 million kilometers in size. At this moment, his palm seemed to have transformed into a vast starry sky, with endless stars hanging high in it. Furthermore, those were not ordinary celestial bodies and stars. They were actually divine kingdom stars. Every divine kingdom star represented a nomological law, so this starry sky was shockingly filled with endless laws. If God's spirits saw this scene, they might even recognize this place as the origin of laws. Otherwise, which God's spirit in the world could comprehend all the endless laws on this palm? Speaking of which, after Zhou Zhou released his palm, it quickly collided with the two black hearts that were filled with strange taboo laws. Buzz. There was a buzzing sound, and then the world strangely fell silent. Right on the heels of that, the two sides that collided suddenly split into two, breaking into two completely different scenes. On the left was the vast starry sky filled with divine kingdom stars. On the right was the figure of a forbidden source that was illuminated by the scarlet sun. It was wearing a dark cloak, and its face could not be seen clearly. The two sides wrestled with each other, not giving in to each other. However, Both sides controlled this power perfectly and did not shatter this temporary small world. But soon, the palm that controlled the stars was quickly devouring the power of the forbidden laws in the two black hearts, causing the power aura of the two black hearts to decrease rapidly. Meanwhile, the strength of his palm was rapidly increasing. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. The remaining flesh and blood consciousness of the forbidden archmages in the two pitch-black hearts immediately panicked. They still wanted to use this move of mutual destruction to kill Zhou Zhou and use the nutrients in Zhou Zhou's divine body to be reborn. They might even have a chance to advance further with the world-famous peerless talent body of the Lord of the Blazing Sun. Who would have thought that the two forbidden law attacks that they had jointly created that were comparable to true god-tier intermediate grade attacks were actually unable to do anything to each other? This was a low-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit that had just become a god spirit. They roared in despair. However, no matter how angry they were, it could not change their ending. When this earth-shattering palm completely absorbed the taboo laws and energy in the two pitch-black hearts, the remaining flesh and blood consciousness of the two forbidden archmage completely disappeared from the high continent. Zhou Zhou retracted his right palm and saw that the 3,000-kilometer-tall starry palm had also become transparent before disappearing. He looked at his right palm and revealed a smile. My law skill, uniting all techniques, controlling the stars. After absorbing the taboo laws of these two forbidden archmages, it actually strengthened a little. What a pleasant surprise. Zhou Zhou was satisfied. His newly comprehended Lord Law skill did not disappoint. Be it offense, defense, or absorbing laws to increase one's growth, they were all top-notch. It was not in vain that he had comprehended the Lord's laws for so long in the supreme domain despite the reign of laws. Furthermore, his palm could not only absorb the enemy's nomological attacks to strengthen his body and perfect the divine kingdom star in his palm. Furthermore, as more and more subjects comprehended laws in his territory, his nomological comprehension would naturally fuse into his palm, making his second Lord Law skill stronger and stronger. Its domineeringness and growth were not inferior to his number one Lord's Law skill, King. The King is used to increase my strength. Unify all techniques and control the stars to supplement my combat methods. With an escape-type Lord Law skill, my Lord God Spirit's combat system will be simple to build. In addition, the name, uniting all methods and controlling the stars is a little too long. Let's call it the Myriad Methods Star Palm, or the Myriad Countries Shocking Palm. As Zhou Zhou pondered about his future development direction, he waved his right hand. He saw the two black hearts that had lost their laws and energy being collected by him. Then, he waved his hand again, and the corpse of the Devil Lord was also collected by him. Fortunately, I have two hearts. I can barely extract the loots. As for this Devil Lord, even if you want to die, you won't do it this way. Zhou Zhou shook his head and began to extract the corpse. Each of these three true god-tier elementary grade Scarlet God spirits had 3 to 4 high-tier deity-level divine artifacts and more than 10 mid-tier deity-level divine artifacts on their bodies. Other than that, there were also more than 30 high-tier deity-level materials and more than 1,000 mid-tier deity-level and god spirit materials. Other than high-tier deity-level divine artifacts and materials that could be extracted and turned into true god divine artifacts and true god-tier materials that were worth looking at, Zhou Zhou frowned as he looked at the other items. So poor. To think that you guys are true god-tier god spirits. After Zhou Zhou extracted them, he directly stored the 33 true god-tier divine artifacts and 96 true god-tier materials into the king's treasure box. As for the other divine artifacts, Zhou Zhou planned to directly throw them into the military merit exchange system and let the immortals under him earn military merits to exchange for them. Now that he had many immortal god subordinates, he had also prepared something suitable for them to exchange. Then, he took a look at the battered small world and didn't mind. He turned around and left. To the current Zhou Zhou, such a small world could be casually created by him. Furthermore, he could create it quite perfectly. He could even give birth to racial life forms. He was a god spirit formed by the Lord's laws after all. In terms of controlling the endless laws, even if he wasn't as meticulous as the laws of chaos, it wasn't a problem for him to do it. If it really didn't work out, he could nurture a subordinate of a chaotic law god spirit in the future. Then, he could control the other party. That way, he would know what the chaotic law god spirit knew. As for whether he understood it or not, it was not important as long as he knew how to use it. In reality, above the blazing sun kingdom, Zhou Zhou controlled the spatial laws and instantly transmitted to the sky above the blazing sun kingdom. He looked at the scarlet god spirits who were still fighting with the blazing sun kingdom's god spirits and didn't waste any time. He raised his right hand and used his true god-tier dermic powers to activate the Lord's Law skill, Myriad Methods Star Palm, and control the spatial law skill, Spatial Sealing, the profundity of the word seal. Freeze. As soon as he finished speaking, these hundreds of scarlet god spirits were all sealed in place and did not move. Their eyes were filled with shock, but they could not move at all. How could a group of scarlet god spirits at the highest high-tier deity level resist a true god-tier existence on the Lord's Law path? No matter how many there were, they were just ants. Capture them all. Those who surrender will stay, and those who don't will be killed. After you're done, come back and see me. Zhou Zhou left a sentence and returned to the blazing sun kingdom alone.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.